Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Painting. Today we are going to do something a little bit different, as you can see from our canvas already, than what we've kind of been doing in the past. Oops, let me go ahead and get my brush so we can jump right in. So today what we're going to do is we're going to leave the mountains behind for once. I don't often not paint mountains. And if you've noticed here in the background, I've kind of slowly, with each one, I've changed out one of the paintings just to kind of show off some other ones I've done in the past. This painting right here is actually going to be my 40th painting I've ever done. So this will be a fun one. I love to do black canvases. So all this is I took a white canvas and then took some black acrylic, just painted it right over it, let it dry completely. Takes but 2 seconds to do that. It's cheaper than buying a black canvases in most cases, doing it this way. So you just buy your white ones and then you can either decide to have white or black. It makes things really easy. So up here I've got an example of a black canvas I've done in the past, and I love putting pretty colors into things. That's why I love this waterfall. This is one of my favorite paintings I've ever done personally. But today we are going to work with water and waterfalls actually. So what I'm thinking is we're going to have some trees, and we're going to be in a forest, and we're going to have kind of a river coming through here to kind of be our focal point for this painting. So what I've gone ahead and done, so I've first painted the 16 by 20 inch canvas black with black acrylic, and then over the top of that I took some liquid clear, and it takes just a very little bit just to go right over the top of it. And then with the liquid clear on there, what I've gone ahead and done is I've taken a mixture of Pthalo Green and Pthalo Blue, and I've just mixed them right up here on the brush, just kind of banging it back and forth between the two. I'm trying to keep it a little more to the green color, and then I'm just going up here to the canvas and just painting it in right on top. It doesn't really matter where. I kind of have an idea. I want to put some trees here and a river flowing through here, so I'm kind of mainly following that area, but having that undercolor over in other areas doesn't really matter. Now you can't see that, so that's what would make it fun. If you do this for somebody else and they watch you paint, then suddenly our little secret, what you do next is you take a fan brush. We're just going to go right into the titanium white, and we're just going to load it full of color. We're just going to get it right there, nice and full of paint and color. There we are. Beautiful. And then this painting is going to be a fun and easy one. Today we're going to put in our background trees and work in our water, and then next time we're going to go around and put in the land around our water and put in our foreground trees and things like that. So kind of what we need to decide is where about our horizon is going to be, and then all I'm going to do is just take this white and I'm just going to wiggle some curly cues up in there, and you notice it started nice and bright white, and then suddenly it started picking up a lot of that undercolor, that blues and greens. And I'm just going to curl it nice and around, make all kinds of little shapes and things. We're not looking for anything specific. I don't want that to be too bright, but I want to leave some contrast. I want to leave some dark, some light, all different kinds of things. I want to just dance this around and let it happen. Let your brush just have some fun. There's no right or wrong here. We're just taking the white and just swirling it in and around. And we're just letting all kinds of fun little things happen. So, I hope everybody is doing well today in their day, whatever it is you've got going on. I'm glad if you can take the time away to watch me paint, and I hope that you are painting as well. I would love to see some of your paintings. This one's just going to be a fun little one, nothing too complicated. I genuinely think anybody can paint this if they really wanted to, because it's just fun. There's no crazy skill or anything involved with this one. This one's just going to be a nice relaxing one, like you're just looking down into the forest and watching a nice stream. Just a peaceful, relaxing kind of painting. All right. Now, one thing I've noticed with my painting, and this didn't just start happening as soon as I started doing this with a camera, but I have a tendency to not keep things nice and level. I tend to kind of work my way down or work my way up and kind of not have a nice straight line going all the way across. And that's not too important unless you're working on like a seascape or something like that with a horizon. then it's much more important during those times. But in this case, it's nice to kind of keep your tree lines nice and straight a little bit. It does help. So let's go ahead, we're gonna wash our brush. And we wash our brushes using odorless paint thinner. And I've just got a little jar here that I'm just gonna take and run my fan brush through. And it's got a little screen at the bottom of it to help it pick up some of the color. And then I just take the fan brush and scrub it onto a paper towel to dry it off. Now our 2-inch brush, we're gonna take that into that same jar and use that screen to kind of knock off all the paint. And then the fun part, we take it over here into our trash can, bang it off. That helps to remove some of the excess paint as well as remove some of the paint thinner. And then I come down here and I beat it off on my easel to finish drying it. So that way it's good to go for our next use. Now I do have multiple of each brush, so I can keep going with certain things, but sometimes it is nice to keep things clean as you go. So now I got a clean, dry 2-inch brush, and all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna come in here, I'm just gonna soften, just go back and forth. We wanna kind of remove some of these lines in here, kind of blend and fade some of these colors together. But I want this light, I want this dark, I wanna have differences. I don't want everything to become the same thing. And you can just keep going back and forth on this and blending it to your heart's desire. And the more you keep hitting it with everything, the softer and softer and softer it's gonna get. So we're gonna make it pretty soft, but I don't wanna lose too much. I wanna keep a lot of these shapes and things. It just makes it look nice and pretty off in the distance. Down here at the bottom, we can soften it up a lot more because we're gonna have land and things that are gonna come in there and change that up anyways. So this picked up quite a bit of color, so I'm gonna go back in, wash it really quick. There we go. And there we go. So my last video, I figured out how to run colors across the screen. So those should be going across for you now. They will appear down at the bottom of the screen in the order I have it put on here in the palette. So the only thing we've used so far is the titanium white, phthalo green. That's a rare color for me to use. I often pair it with the phthalo blue, and it usually comes when I'm doing water or seascapes. I don't do a lot of seascapes because I haven't been to the beach a lot. I've been to the mountains a lot. Hoping to go to Colorado next week. We'll have to see about that, but hopefully I am. And if so, maybe I can hopefully get some hiking videos in and put some of those up on the channel. I'd love to have some of those for this channel. So I'm going to go into basically a filbert brush, and with this brush here, I'm just going to put in the indications of some far distant trees. He's just going to go in here, and I'm just going straight on into, I'm using raw umber today. I didn't want necessarily such a dark color, but now that I'm putting this in, I'm thinking I might actually, yeah, let's grab a little bit of black to go with that, because I do want to darken that up. Yeah, that's better. So I'm just going to mix up some black and some brown, just mixing it right there on the brush, not a big deal, and just putting in the indications of a distant little forest. And as you put more pressure down on the brush, the width of your tree branch or your trunk is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And these are way off in the distance. We don't need too much detail on them or anything like that. Just looking for some indications. And notice I'm not painting them in all nice and straight. I almost said draw. What am I thinking here? I don't draw, I paint. So we're not looking for anything too specific. I'm going to put some ending back there, some ending more up front, kind of mixing it up as I go. And some of them will be bigger, some of them will be sideways. You just don't know. And that's because every tree is different. Every tree is an individual, and they are fun to paint. Heck, I'm holding this sideways. Look at that. That one's an interesting one. There we are. Let's see here. Let's get a couple more in here. Let's go right here. He's a skinny bean. And we got him a friend right here. He's going to stop back there in the distance. And let's see. He's a little crooked. And he's a little faded. And one last one here. He kind of grows right in there right next to him. So that is enough with that color. With this brush, we'll go ahead and wipe him off and clean him up. Yeah, this brush picks up quite a bit. It is fantastic for making stones, for making small little trees like this. I really do like this brush. It actually is not anything to do with the other brushes I have. All the other brushes I have are a brand called Master's Touch. Come on, script liner, just hiding down in there from me. They're all a brand called Master's Touch that I usually go and buy on sale for a pretty decent price. So I tend to stick with them just because they're very, very affordable. But that little guy, he came from my first ever art kit that I got. I got into painting because of, like I said, watching Bob Ross. So all I did was I took a script liner, went into some paint thinner, thinned up this same brown-black color we've been working with for these trees. Now we're just going to go put in some branches and things off in the distance. But basically, I got into painting because of watching Bob, and then suddenly, around that same time, it was Black Friday. So Black Friday rolls around, and I was like, you know what? Let's just... I didn't have anything in mind, and I just happened to be walking through Michael's and saw this paint kit. It came with like this little box, this carrying case, and but most importantly in it was all different kinds of paints. It had acrylics, it had watercolor, and it had, most specifically, oil. Because I had originally tried to paint Bob Ross with some acrylic paints, and I just got very frustrated very quickly because of how fast they dried, and I didn't understand that his technique was based all around keeping everything very wet. So I got a little puppy dog hair here in my paint, but his technique revolved around everything being very wet so you could blend the color, and that frustrated me because I couldn't do that with acrylics, or at least I didn't know how. So when I saw this paint kit on sale for really crazy cheap from what I had seen for the cost of oil paints, I got really excited, and we actually bought it that day, and I had to wait until Christmas to actually go and open it up. So from Black Friday all the way until Christmas, I just sat there knowing that in the future I was going to get to do a painting finally. And I woke up the day after Christmas with my new paint kit, and I went downstairs before anybody else had woken up, and super excited, I went down into our dining room. I opened up the big window right behind the table and set my little table easel up on the table and got ready to paint, and did my first ever one. And what was amazing to me is that when I looked at it, I could tell what it was. I knew exactly what I was trying to paint, and so did my parents. And their positivity is what encouraged me to keep on going. And so that little paintbrush is the only thing left from that kit that I still use. All the other ones were some weird shapes and things, and I might find a reason to use them at some point, but I don't have anything quite yet. I still do have the box, but I quickly ran out of all the little sample paint tubes that they gave me for it, and so had to go out and buy new stuff, and just kept on going. So we're just going to keep putting in indications here of tree branches all the way across. This is definitely a more tedious is kind of the right word, but just more steps, more little details we're actually going to paint in this painting in comparison to a lot of other ones. When we put in distant trees, sometimes we just put in little bushy shaped things and things like that. And this time we're actually putting on branches and the works on the trees, so it's definitely a lot more than what we normally might do. So it has a little bit more detail and things going along with it, and I like that. I like to do things a little different. I don't want to keep doing the same. I noticed when I went back and looked at the paintings I had done for the last two, even though I did them in two different settings, they were to me very similar. It was almost like you were looking at one side of the mountain and then a much more further distant view of the same mountain, just at different seasons. So I wanted to do something very different today, and it had been a while since I had done a black canvas, and I think black canvases, you can create some of absolutely the most beautiful things ever. Not to say you can't do that on whites as well, but with the black canvas, the dark color just creates such a fantastic contrast that to me just makes painting easier, more fun, because I just love the results I get from them. Let's see here. And there's really no wrong here. You don't have to have a steady hand or anything like that. I'm just putting in little wiggly things all over the place. And we'll go back in and we'll put in some leaves on some of these guys, not too many or anything like that. Again, these are distant, but we're just putting in all kinds of little indications of things and just letting it flow right out of the brush. The more natural you just let it flow, the better it's going to look. The more natural it's actually going to appear. It's when you start trying to put in specific things and trying to make specific shapes that sometimes it can get a little more challenging, because organic shapes are not, they don't follow patterns. They can be very random. So, especially if you get the right kind of shape on it, let that shakiness make some of these just beautiful things happen. Let your hands just do the work and just let it flow right out. There is no right or wrong. Alright, so we got some tree branches going all the way across. I'm just going to come in here and put in some little things growing in down here in the bottom. Just all kinds of little things. And again, I'm still just using the same color we use for the trees, for whatever. I'm not trying to get crazy with colors just yet. But I love that background like that. It's a foggy, hazy kind of effect. Hey, is it realistic? I don't know. Possibly somewhere. Surely somewhere they get effects like this. And that's the thing that I always find funny is when I look at something and I paint it or something like that and I go, man, that's not realistic. You don't ever see that. I swear I almost immediately go out and see it the next day, just running around somewhere, and you just find it. And it's fascinating to me that it happens like that. And I love nature because of that. I really truly do. Ooh, that one's a dark one. All right. And I don't know that all these are going to show through, but, you know, hey. We're just putting in little indications of things. And the cool part is you can go back further in the painting as your brush gets lighter and lighter. You first hit it and fill it with color. You want to come up front a little more. And then as you use it, work your way back. That way, the closer things have more color in them. And the farther things are just fading away. Alright. I think there we go. Alright, so let's go ahead and drop him in here. And then I'm thinking what we're going to do. So we're just going to take just a fan brush here. And we're going to put in a little bit of dark color. And I'm thinking for that, ooh, interesting. Getting a little drizzle there of paint coming down, and that's one thing you've got to be very, very careful with the liquid clear and paint thinner, is that the paint thinner and liquid clear that's on the canvas here will have a violent reaction with each other. And by violent, I mean what's going to happen is it will take your painting and whatever paint you have on there, and the paint thinner will take that liquid clear, pick it up and run it all the way down. And honestly, I don't know how you combat that. I don't know how you come back from that on your painting, because it'll ruin your painting for sure. You'll just have streaks running down it, and I don't know how to fix it. I've had it happen 2 times in the past, and I was very upset because I was doing, I thought, a really, really good piece, and then suddenly that pops in there. So all I did, I kind of just cleaned up my palette, took in some of the Pthalo Green, Blue, Black, even a touch of burnt sienna and brown, and just kind of mix it all up here, just everything we've kind of worked with. And I'm just going to fill the fan brush with it, and then I'm just going to go up here and pop in some indications of some little tree branches. Just like that. Don't need too much, not looking to get too crazy. There we go. I don't even know if all of them are going to have some. But some of our trees will. Why don't we skip a couple there? We're going to leave them nice and bald. Come up here right in the middle. There we go. I'll skip a couple again. And there. And all I'm doing is just taking this color and I'm just pushing right down onto it, kind of in a tree sort of shape. And I didn't mix up necessarily a lot of color, so that's another reason we're going to skip some trees and move around. I think we're going to hit these last 2 and call it good here. But you want to think about how your tree is going to grow and then pop in those indications. And these little dots and things make the indications of some little leaves and stuff like that way off in the distance, kind of bushy effects. Let's see, I want to definitely change that up a little bit. Cool. There we go. All right, I'm happy with that. I'm quite happy with that. So, fan brush, I'm going to leave him sitting down there. I wouldn't be surprised if we come back to use him again. I'm going to pull out my small fan brush here, and I'm going to just go, we do have quite a bit of layers of paint on there, so I am going to grab the least little touch, actually, of the liquid clear, not paint thinner, because like I said, when you have these violent effects, you want to try to limit the amount of paint thinner to liquid clear that you put on there, so that way it reduces your chances of having the painting getting ruined. So I'm just going into a slightest little touch there of Sap Green, pulling it through on my yellow, and it looks very watered down because all I did was take that liquid clear. It's pretty much just oil is all it is, so it's just thinning out this paint, so that way we can go right up on here and put it right on over and just add just some highlights in the background here. Again, these are far off trees. I'm not looking for it to be too bright. I'm not looking for anything like that. In fact, we're going to grab a touch of the Pthalo Blue to get a brighter green. I do want it to be brighter than that. Alright. And then we're going to hit it in here. There we go. Back up here in the middle. And it just doesn't like that. It does not like that. So I guess I am going to get the least little touch of paint thinner into it to try to help it to get on top of it there. Just gotta be careful and make sure you mix it nicely. Whew! I got a lot of Pthalo Blue that time. Whoops! That is a dark green, not what I was looking for. Let's see if we can pull out a lighter one. There we go. That's it. So I'm just hitting it kind of randomly through here. I don't really know where our light source is coming through at. I truly don't. Not worried about it. Light's going to be coming maybe from over top and just occasionally hitting trees and things in different places. Just like that. There we go. And what I find is if you, when you highlight like this, if you highlight darker in the back and then lighter towards the front, it really does help to add some of that depth into your painting. So, just like that, we've got some little distant trees, bushes, all kinds of little guys in there. So, let's go ahead and toss down our really dark highlight color, but we'll set him to the side. And then for the rest of today's episode, what I'm thinking is we're going to work on our water. So remember, we put in that base color of a mixture of Pthalo Green and Pthalo Blue. So now when we take some just straight titanium white through it, we'll end up picking up some of that color to have all kinds of cool little effects with the water. So what I'm actually wanting to do here is I want to have a stream that's split in two, come into one big one right here. So he's going to start off right here. So I'm just going to start him off here. He's going to come around in here. And then he's going to fall over here. And then somebody whoop, accidentally pulled out his stopper and he went flying. We have a waterfall just like that. Just simply just pop. And there we have our waterfall. And then over here, we're going to have a second stream. Well, we'll get to him in a second. So, we got this little stream here. He's coming along all nice and happy. And he just falls right off into there. So, with this guy, we can fade him off into the distance to where we can't tell where that stream goes. And then we got our waterfall here, so we're going to add some little bits of splashes. Bloop, bloop, bloop. He gets all splashy, splashy, splashy. And then, with those splashes like that, what I want to come back in and do is add in a 1-inch brush. And we're just going to soften the bottom of it, just like when we're making a cloud. We want to make this into a smoked out little effect and just soften off the bottom. And then what we can do is we can add another layer. So we can pick up more paint and then come in again. Just like that. And then soften, 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 soften. That time we had a lot of paint on there. And then we can raise it up and go across. Real light, because we don't want to affect our water flowing back here too much. So, there we go. Now I'm going to go back into my white. I'm just going to add some little effects right in here. And then we're going to start to fill out the rest of our stream. He's just going to bubble on down here, just being real light with it. And goes right on off the page. Right on off the canvas, huh? Just like that. So, there we are. And when you got these real light spots, you just keep hitting it over and over and over again, and it'll soften up right to the desired level that you want. So there is that. And then let's go hit, you know what? We're gonna get crazy today, and we're gonna have a second waterfall that flows in here, because there's gonna be another stream, and it comes right out of over here. And he's gonna come in here, here. He comes right there, and he goes bloop. And somebody pulled out his stopper as well. Suddenly, we've got crazy waterfalls. Boop. We got two out of nowhere, just like that. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So, again, I'm just going to add in some bubbles. And then come back here with our 1-inch brush and soften. We'll come back in again, add another layer. Yeah, and by layering these things, it really just adds all kinds of a little bit of just depth into your waterfall, your painting. But you just gotta be careful with it. And there we go. Just like that, we have ourselves a couple of waterfalls. And a couple of streams and a big old stream down here at the bottom. Not too hard. Nice and easy. So it might look a little silly now because we don't have anything to necessarily hold in the water or anything like that. And that'll come in due time. But for now, we just wanted to get the indications, the shapes in there. And you can go back over it like that, but you don't want to do it too many times because these lines in here, you want to save those. You want those in there. Because they add just some beautiful effects to it. What I'm actually going to do is take just a touch of green and come into it just like that. Just add in just a little bit more color right into that waterfall, and there we go. So let's see. I think I want to add one last effect for this episode, and I think that's going to do it for us today. So let me get out. Let me clean this brush. We are going to go right back into the white, but I do want to clean it because I want it to be a little bit more pure. Let's see. There we go. Just going to take off the paint thinner and go into some white. And I want to make this white pretty thin. Not crazy thin, but pretty thin. Yeah, that's getting there. Because the one last little effect I want to add is just some little splashy things going on up in there. And so all we're going to do is load this paintbrush full of very thin color. I mean, this is too thin. And because it's too thin, I'm going to first take it and flick it right off into the trash can because I want to remove excess splashes. Wipe my finger dry a little bit. So this paintbrush, as you can see here, is full of color, very thin color. And all I'm going to do is splash in just by running my finger across like that, just little dots. And this is why I went in and did it on the trash can first, because I wanted to remove as much excess color as I could from that paintbrush. I didn't want it to get too crazy and have these just giant blots everywhere. Now, that'll stand for now, but honestly, probably a lot of those are going to end up getting covered up when we go to put some rocks in there to hold in our water. So we might go back and do this again on top of that, just to add more of that effect, to show it over the water. So, all right, and with that, that is going to be the end of our episode today. Look at that, I got white all over my finger. So that's going to be the end of our episode today. I hope you did enjoy. Next time, part 2, we're going to come in here, we're going to put in the land that's actually holding in our water and put in some trees and other things like that and add that in there. So if you did enjoy, please leave a like and subscribe. I hope you do, and let me know if you have anything you want to see or paint. Show me your paintings that you've been up to. And until then, until next time,